Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Senate Bill 867 simply extends the sunset date for the Maddie Fund for 10 years from its current sunset date of January 1, 2017.
Move the bill.
Second.
As you know, Maddie Fund's a critical source of funding, offsets the cost of providing emergency services to California's uninsured population. The basic Maddie Fund provides for a $2 assessment on top of every $10 penalty for criminal offenses and moving violations to fund emergency medical care. Some counties have elected to supplement the fund with an additional $2 assessment. 15% of this additional assessment specifically funds pediatric trauma centers. Without this bill, there will be no statewide funding source for pediatric trauma. The bill has broad support from counties, hospitals, medical service providers, and has had no opposition. Recently passed Senate Public Safety in the Senate floor with a bipartisan vote, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Roth. You have two witnesses, 2 minutes each.
Madam Chair, members, Tim Madden representing the California chapter of the American College of Emergency Physicians, and we're one of the co-sponsors of SB 867. As Senator Roth outlined, the Maddie Fund has become a critical source for emergency physicians in treating uninsured patients. It is actually the only source of funding when it comes to treating uninsured patients. As Senator Roth also mentioned, there's a unique aspect to this penalty assessment, which is the Ritchie's Fund, which receives 15% of the funds for the Pediatric Trauma Center purpose. And for those of you who are newer to the legislature, the background on this is Senator Alarcon, who was the original author for this penalty assessment. His son, Richie, was killed in a drunk driving accident, killed by a drunk driver. In his belief in the San Fernando Valley, if there were a pediatric trauma center in place, his son might have survived that accident. And that was one of the driving forces behind the second penalty assessment and the inclusion of the Ritchie's Fund, which is the only fund for this purpose. As a result of this penalty assessment, there is now a pediatric trauma center in Northridge in the San Fernando Valley, and vital funds going to many of your counties for this purpose. For these reasons, we urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Connie Delgado with the California Hospital Association, one of the co-sponsors. As Mr. Madden pointed out, the extension of the Maddie Fund does provide critical funding for the uninsured, and for those reasons we are in support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Children's Hospital Association in support.
Thank you. Name and organization only, please.
Sure. Darby Kernan with the California State Association of Counties. Also would like to talk in support for urban counties of California and rural county representatives of California. Thank you.
Donna Seitz representing the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors in support.
Betsy Armstrong on behalf of the Emergency Medical Services Administrator in support.
Thank you.
Nicole Wertelman on behalf of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors in support.
Thank you.
Andrew Langley on behalf of the counties of Riverside and San Diego in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon Roberts with the Health Officers Association of California in support.
Thank you. Are there any witnesses in opposition? Any witnesses in opposition? Any witnesses in opposition? Any questions from committee members? Mr. Lackey.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Roth. I have a question. Clearly, the causes are worthy of support in this measure, but I have a hesitation in that the fact that citation costs right now for simple offenses are quite heavy, and the average citation is between $300 and $400, and these are the kinds of reasons, this measure here, that those costs have become so onerous to the average person and the people who are struggling. Is there anything you can tell me that could put my mind at ease as to the temporary nature? I know that what we're doing is extending a deadline that was to serve a purpose that hopefully we would find a way to fund some of these other programs a different way, but obviously that has not happened. And so here we are. We either are in a position to where we no longer sustain this funding stream that's so critical to these groups of folks. Is there anything that you could put my mind at rest that we would try to push harder to try to not rely on this being the funding stream for these groups?
Well, sir, I don't disagree with you with respect to citations. I think this clearly is a balancing of public policies. And clearly our healthcare system needs more funding, and it needs more funding in the budget and elsewhere. But the real problem here is it's my understanding that this MATI fund accounts for approximately $50 million of statewide emergency care funding, and that includes pediatric care. So I don't see any alternative at this point other than to extend the sunset date as we, all of you, and those of us on the other side, try to push for additional funding for our healthcare delivery system.
Mr. Quirk was next.
Oh, go ahead. You sure? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Quirk, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Roth, I hear what you're saying with the need and the funding source and what it goes for, but we have shown that there isn't a super clear nexus between imposing this type of fee for every offense that comes up and the need for emergency care services. That's just not the reality. We just had a bill last year by Senator Hertzberg, where amnesty was given to people because of the exorbitant cost of tickets that are given, because it was so high that it was adversely affecting communities of color and poor communities. And with this, we're just perpetuating the problem. So there are things that are funded by these fees that I think should not be funded the way they are. I've got a whole list of, I mean, my goodness, it's half a page of all the different ways that we impose fines and fees to pay for some of the things that shouldn't be paid for out of fines and fees. I thought we were going to have an honest conversation last year about the reform of our fee structure, and we haven't had that. So I am torn, because I agree with you that it's worthy to have these facilities funded, but again, it seems like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth when we say we're going to provide amnesty because the fees are too high, but we're going to continue this practice. So.
Well, two things. The additional assessment is a county option, and my understanding is 10 urban counties have elected that. So that's something that is local control, and local counties get to do that. And in fact, the basic MATI fund itself is a county option, so counties can elect not to do it. There is no requirement. I will tell you once again, it's a public policy issue, and how we balance competing interests with respect to the citations and the impact on the population, and yet funding critical services. As you may know, with respect to the amnesty, or whatever we call it, that we passed last year, in Riverside County, the court system has sustained a multi-million-dollar loss because those funds were used to fund the Riverside Superior Court System. And now that court system is struggling to find resources to make up for that deficit. So while well-intended, it had a consequence that was negative. I think the failure to extend the sunset on this MATI fund will frankly be catastrophic in some counties with respect to the delivery of healthcare services in particular, perhaps our county hospitals, of which Riverside County certainly has one. I completely agree with you that we have a revenue system in the state of California that is badly in need of overhaul from A to Z. It's a larger problem than I think we're going to be able to deal with today, but I certainly commit to working with you who are concerned, because I am equally concerned. But I think this, balancing the public policy issues here, I think this is a worthy effort of extension, albeit with a sunset date. So we will get to revisit that.
Mr. Quirk.
Yeah, I want to agree with all my colleagues and the senator. This is not the way to fund EMS. I suggest that we all get together and write a bill to the Budget Committee next year asking for this $50 million to come out of the general fund, and that the MATI bill be suspended. But until we do that, I don't see that we have a lot of choices. I'm reluctant as well, but you have to choose the least bad option.
Thank you. You may close.
Well, Mr. Chair, members, I just appreciate the conversation, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roth. And I'm going to go ahead and recommend that we approve very, very similar concerns but also understanding that we need to do something, and we just should not bankrupt the emergency medical system altogether. And so we need to at least put this in, and maybe we can get bipartisan support to actually fund this in next year's budget, according to Mr. Quirk's suggestion. Madam Secretary.
SB 867, the motion is due pass. Jones Sawyer.
Aye.
Jones Sawyer, aye. Melendez. Melendez, aye. Lackey. Lackey, aye. Lopez. Lowe. Quirk.
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Santiago.
Bill passes. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Senate Bill 883. Victims of domestic partner violence look to the courts to provide for their safety, and one of the few long-term forms of protection the courts can provide victims is a protective or no-contact or restraining order. Almost every form of post-conviction restraining order provides for a uniform period of incarceration in the event of a violation. For example, violations of post-conviction elder abuse restraining orders, family court restraining orders, and sexual assault restraining orders carry similar penalties. Offenders who violate any of these orders can receive up to 1 year in county jail. Currently, an offender who has been convicted of domestic violence, corporal injury, stalking, and sentenced to prison is subject to less punishment for violating the post-conviction restraining order than all other types of offenders, 6 months versus 1 year. Senate Bill 883 would create a more uniform sentencing for restraining order violations and give victims of our most serious domestic violence offenses equal protection from unwanted contact. In summary, with this bill, a violation of a protective or restraining order issued by a court following a conviction of inflicting corporal injury resulting in a traumatic condition, domestic violence, or stalking will be punishable by up to 1 year in county jail. The bill has the support of the Riverside County District Attorney and the California District Attorneys Association, and I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Second.
Madam Chair,
those in
members,
support?
Marty Veronica on behalf of the California District Attorneys Association. We are in support of this measure. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Dan Filizato on behalf of the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, and I've also been asked to testify on behalf of the Crime Victims Action Alliance, all in support.
Thank you. Any witnesses in opposition? Any witnesses in opposition? Any witnesses in opposition? Any questions from committee members? Okay. Do we the motion? Okay. The Chair is recommending an aye vote. Oh, you want
just respectfully ask for an aye vote, and thank you, sir.
SB 883, the motion is due pass to appropriations. Jones Sawyer.
Aye.
Jones Sawyer, aye. Melendez. Melendez, aye. Lackey. Lackey, aye. Lopez. Lowe. Quirk.
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Santiago.
That measure passes. Thanks.
Chair and members, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez. SB 1036, controlled substances, synthetic cannabinoids, analogs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Over the past decade, California has experienced the emergence of a new, unpredictable, and deadly category of a drug, and it's called spice. Spice is a synthetic form of a cannabinoid that is marked as a safe and legal alternative to marijuana. The chemicals in spice interact with the brain in a similar manner to marijuana, but can be up to 50 times more potent, and effects are often unpredictable. In some instances, sadly, spice has resulted in death. In 2011, I authored SB 420 that banned a specific version of spice, but the industry circumvented the ban by developing new iterations of this deadly drug. This bill will expand the definition of a controlled substance analog to include all substantially similar synthetic structures. This will keep California law ahead of the consistently changing chemical structure of the synthetic marijuana and prevent further tragic consequences. You know, Mr. Chair, I have with me the parents, Devin and Veronica Eckerd, who unfortunately tragically lost their son Connor to a spice overdose from one hit. I know you're going to be allowing two individuals, total of 4 minutes. They have a story that they'll be reading to you. They're going to go back and forth, so hopefully they'll be able to finish within the 4 minutes. If for whatever reason they don't, Mr. Chair, I will finish their statement in my closing unless you're willing to allow them to do so, and just let me know. But it is the parents of the young man who died of smoking spice. We are also passing out. They have formed a Connor Project Foundation to try to get other parents to educate them of the awareness of this deadly drug that is sold and is peddled to the youth as a safe form of marijuana. Anyway, with me are the Eckerts, and I'd like them to present. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. You may begin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Public Safety Committee. My name is Devin Eckhart, and this is my wife, Veronica. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of SB 1036, and we're here for very personal reasons. We hope that our testimony and our story provides a heavy dose of reality and humanizes the significant public dangers related to synthetic drugs. I want to thank and applaud Senator Hernandez and his staff for taking on this critical issue. As you seek to address the significant threats surrounding synthetic drugs, the epidemic rate at which they are spreading, the severity of their destructive effects, and the deadly impact they're having upon our communities and our families, it's our sincere hope and prayer that each of you will leverage your individual and collective power to do more than simply discuss this growing problem, but rather you will choose to take action and make the changes necessary to eradicate these deadly poisons and their proliferation. Sadly, my wife, Veronica, myself, and our family know tragically all too well the devastating impact of synthetic drugs that SB 1036 seeks to address.
In July of 2014, which is coming up here again, our 19-year-old son, Connor, was a bright, vibrant young man with a full life ahead of him. He really was an all-American young person. He was working, being promoted, preparing for college. He loved music, surfing, was loved and adored by his friends, and of course, he was loved by his family and his sisters, his parents. Here's a photo of our family. That's Devin and me and Connor and our daughters, Sabrina and Ashnika, taken on the 4th of July, 2014. This was the last time we would ever have a family photo again. 8 days later, Connor was with a new friend and made the seemingly innocent decision to try something called spice, now often referred to as NPSs. This is the next photo. This was purchased at a local market. After many days in the hospital, our son was ultimately declared brain dead. Connor died July 16, 2014, after one singular hit of spice. At the time when this happened, we were obviously, as Connor was, had never heard of the dangers of spice or the proliferation of these deadly synthetic drugs that are invading our communities. Since Connor's death 699 days ago, we have met far too many parents who have also lost their children to synthetic drugs like spice. And through our outreach and education efforts, we have literally communicated with thousands and thousands of people throughout California, across the United States, and literally around the world who have lost loved ones or have had their lives destroyed from these new psychoactive substances.
Unfortunately, what happened to Connor is not unique. Far too many people have suffered irreparable harm, including death, as a result of trying or using MPSs. However, what is unique about Connor's story is the overwhelming global response to what we've shared publicly through social media, news broadcasts, TV interviews, and such. His story has cut through the racial, socioeconomic, geographic, and religious barriers typically encountered. And what we know are that MPSs are affecting everyone, everywhere. We've had the opportunity to communicate with literally millions of people on the subject and have interviewed by most of the major news outlets around the country. I've even testified before Congress and before the UN just a couple months ago. Yet the problem is getting worse. According to national drug agencies and from those that we've learned by speaking with, families have been harmed by these drugs. Medical professionals and law enforcement who deal directly with these drugs, synthetic cannabinoids and other formulas, say that they cause a myriad of side effects, including death, some effects being permanent, some lasting weeks or even months. You may recall this past November 2015, in one day alone, 13 people ranging in ages from 13 to 45 were taken to San Diego emergency rooms due to synthetic drugs. And then in Sacramento, the week of March 21st, 2016, we learned of 28 people who overdosed due to synthetic fentanyl. Poison control centers across the country saw a 229% increase in phone calls related to synthetic drugs during just the first half of 2015. The problem is growing and something must be done.
We're at the 4-minute mark. How much longer?
So whatever you like, Mr. Chair, if you allow them, if not, I will.
About a minute and a half.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The DEA reports that hundreds of new synthetic drug compounds have appeared on the streets in the last few years, sometimes as frequently or at a rate of a new drug per week. California lawmakers have sought to address this issue by trying to pass different laws. And while these efforts are good, the problem is that illicit drug manufacturers are constantly working, changing formulas, developing new chemical derivatives, and frankly, they're working faster than we are to stay ahead of the law.
We'll let Senator Hernandez finish what Devin was going to say, but I'm going to speak as a mom. Because I think many of you in here are probably parents or maybe even grandparents. When you leave today's meeting and you return home to your families and to your children, your families may be whole and complete. Ours isn't. Ours is missing a very important person, our son. Our lives are forever changed by his death. And as long as people are pushing these drugs, and they are drugs, into our communities, know that there is little or no consequences for their actions, and they do know this because we've spoken to them. We will continue to see the spread of these synthetics and the terrible harm they are bringing to our families, our youth, and our communities. You here have the power to do something. We're not a statistic or a number. I've heard a lot of that for the last 2 hours. This is a real life. Our son is a real life. You're in a position of influence and leadership. We are pleading you to please take action. Don't just talk or debate the issues. Bring about change that we will get these substances out of our cities and will deal appropriately with those behind manufacturing and distributing. We're asking you to take action.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any witnesses, any other witnesses in support, name and organization?
John Lovell on behalf of the Association for Los Angeles County Deputy Sheriffs, California Association of Code Enforcement Officers, California College and University Police Chiefs Association, California Narcotic Officers Association, LA County Professional Peace Officers, Los Angeles Police Protective League, and the Riverside Sheriffs Association, all in support. This is an urgent bill. Unlike other controlled substances, this is instant death, not slow death.
Thank you, Mr. Lovell, for your 7-member support. Any other in support? Name and organization.
Karen Leggett, and I'm in support of this bill. Thank you, Senator Hernandez. You guys are well aware of SPICE, K2, and a new one, U47700.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hernandez.
Name and organization, please.
Asha Harris on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association in support.
Brandon Up in behalf of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in support.
Okay. Are there any witnesses in opposition?
Brian Ortiz on behalf of the ACLU of California. We are respectfully in opposition for the reasons stated in our letter.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses in opposition? Are there any questions from committee members? Mr. Quirk?
So I can see the problem I have with the bill is it seems to ban all synthetic cannabinoids, whereas CBD, as opposed to THC, is definitely, it's a healing. It helps with epilepsy. Epilepsy fits down 54% with its use. And it also if someone is having a bad trip from THC or from marijuana, CBD will actually calm them down. So why does this read cannabinoids rather than THC?
Perhaps because of the iteration of the drug and the way it's sold as a marijuana derivative. If you'd like, I'm hoping it gets out of this committee, but the purpose is to address those individuals, those shops that are trying to sell it to kids, as opposed to the incidents what you're talking about right now.
Yes, but the point is you could be outlawing an important drug.
But I also believe, though, it's to the sale of it as well, not necessarily for the study of it.
No, but it's been studied, and in fact, it's now before the FDA for approval. It's been brought forward by a company that's gone through extensive testing.
So also my understanding is that the controlled substance analogs do not apply to a substance for which there is a recognized safe and effective use.
So you're telling me it won't, assuming that the FDA approves
Correct.
CBD, this will not. But there's 111 other synthetic compounds, some of which may well be useful, other than CBD. I can understand. I would just rather this bill were drawn more narrowly. And not all cannabinoids, frankly, come from cannabis. Some of them come from our own brains. So I think this bill is just overly broad, and I wish you would narrow it.
Well, it's written the way it is, and I appreciate your comment, and, it'd be nice to have your vote, but I understand if you're choosing not to.
No, I don't think I can support it as long as it's banning all cannabinoids.
Okay. I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a question? And you may close.
Mr. Chair and members, first of all, let me thank you for allowing the individuals who testify for additional time. As you can see, it's a very emotional issue, not only to them, but to numerous family members that it's affected. As I mentioned in my opening statement, in 2011, I introduced SB 420, which banned a specific version of spice, but obviously through the intuition of and ingenuity of these individuals that are producing it, they've managed other iterations of it. So this bill, albeit it may be broad to Assemblymember Quirk's standings, but it's trying to address a market that is being sold to young adults as a alternative to marijuana, which it's not, which can ultimately lead to death. And with that, Mr. Chair and members, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
And before, did you want to finish their statement?
Did you have any more statement? Or?
That you wanted to read?
I would just comment along the lines of what was being said, that there are in place mechanisms for effective research chemicals to be used. You can go through the DEA. You can still do research on synthetic drugs. So to Mr. Quirk's point, this isn't going to prohibit the potential benefits that could come through researching a synthetic and being able to ultimately use it. Or as Senator Hernandez stated, those that have already been identified to have beneficial use, this doesn't take care of them. The broad application is important because the underground chemists are constantly changing the formula. So creating a narrow bill simply gives them the guidelines of what they need to go just beyond. By changing one molecule in the structure, they have a new drug that is as bad or worse than what's currently out there. Bills like this that basically say if it looks like, acts like, or behaves like a deadly synthetic, it needs to be treated as such.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did we get a motion? I'll second it. And we're going to go ahead and take the vote.
Thank you.
SB 1036, the motion is due past your appropriations. Jones Sawyer?
Aye.
Jones Sawyer, aye. Melendez? Melendez not voting. Lackey? Lackey, aye. Lopez? Lowe? Quirk?
Not voting.
Quirk not voting. Santiago?
Bill's on call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members.
I see an empty bench. So we're looking for Mr. Senator Hall, Senator Lara, Senator Galgiani, and Senator Hancock.